Alright, here we're going to try to talk about graphing absolute value functions, and it's not really that bad. You just have to get kind of used to it. So first thing we have is y equals the absolute value of x minus 3 plus 2, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table of values. So the table of values is going to have x there and y there, and what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to pick these values. And where did I get them? Well, what I did was I looked at the absolute value equation, and the thing inside the absolute value, the x minus 3, I said what would make that 0? And the thing that would make that 0 is 3, and then what I did was I just picked numbers a little to the left and a little to the right of that. So I picked integers in this particular case. So now what I'm going to do is evaluate the function at each of those. So if I take 1 and plug it in, I get the absolute value of negative 2, which is 2, plus 2, which gives me 4. If I take 2 and plug it in, I'm going to get the absolute value of negative 1, which is 1 plus 2 to get 3. If I plug in 3, I actually get 0, the absolute value of 0 rather, and then plus 2, so just 2. And if you look at the equation, you could kind of see that plus 2 just sitting there, which is going to be useful to us. And then if I plug in 4, I end up with 3 again, and if I plug in 5, I end up with 4, right? The absolute value of 2, and then plus 2 is 4. So if you look at the table, what you'll notice is around x equals 3, we get kind of this symmetry. So we have the point 2, 3, and we have the point 4, 3. And we have the point 1, 4, and 5, 4. So when we're 2 away from 3, we get to 1 or to 5, and both of those have the same y-coordinate. So we have some points, and now what we're going to do is create a graph. So what you want to do is, so 3, 2 is an important point. What you want to do is label it up, the x-axis, the y-axis, and now I'm going to plot points. So I'm going to plot the point 3, 2, and now I'll plot the points 2, 3, and 4, 3. So I'm moving 1 to the left, 1 to the right, and then putting it at 3 in each case, and then I'm going to plot the points 1, 4, and 5, 4. So 1, 4, 5, 4, and now you just draw your graph through it. So we have that. That's our graph. What you want to notice, though, is this thing here, it's called the vertex. So the way we found the vertex was we took whatever was in the absolute value, we set it equal to 0, and that gave us 3. And then if you substitute 3 back in, you get 2, which actually happened to be that constant on the outside there. And then two other things. To the right of the vertex, the slope of this is 1. And to the left of the vertex, the slope is negative 1. So it's really like we have two lines that are just being kind of combined. And that's going to come up a lot. So let's see if we can do another one. So we have y equals negative 2, the absolute value of x plus 1, and then plus 3. So what I want to do here is find the vertex first. So to find the vertex, I take a look at what's in the absolute value, so that's x plus 1. What makes that 0? Well, x equals negative 1 would make that 0. So that's going to be the x-coordinate of the vertex. Then you take negative 1, substitute it in. You end up with just 3 because you have the absolute value of 0 is 0 times negative 2 is 0 plus 3. So negative 1, 3. So now that's going to help me make my table. So I will make a table. Again, it's going to be x, y. But this time, I know that negative 1 is the x-coordinate of the vertex. So I'm going to center that on my table and then go 2 in either direction. So I have that. Now I'm going to substitute in. So I know that negative 1, 3 is a point. If I take negative 2 and plug it in, I end up with the absolute value of negative 1, which is 1, times negative 2, which is negative 2, plus 3 is 1, and so on. I'm going to assume that you can plug those in. So now what we're ready to do is, well, let's take a look. So we got the symmetry again in both cases. That's why I go 2 in either direction, just so I can make sure that the symmetry kind of works out. And there's our vertex, right in the center of our table. So now what I'll do is create a graph. So again, I've labeled the x-axis, I've labeled the y-axis. Now I'm going to plot my points. So first goes a vertex, negative 1, 3. Now I'm going to go to negative 2, 1, and to 0, 1. And then finally negative 3, negative 1, and 1, negative 1. Draw the graph. And again, let's look at the slope. So the slope to the right of the vertex works out to be negative 2, and to the left of the vertex is 2. Now if you go back to the original equation, where is the negative 2? Well, it's the coefficient of the absolute value. So I have that's going to help me on this next example. So I'm going to see if I can do this without a table. So I have y equals 2/3 the absolute value of x plus 2, and then minus 4. So again, the vertex. So to find the vertex, I look at the absolute value, and I set it equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, solve that, x equals negative 2. That's going to be the x-coordinate of the vertex, and then the y-coordinate of the vertex is going to be that constant that we're either adding or subtracting. In this case, we're subtracting, so it's going to be negative 4. And if you're not sure about that, just take the x-coordinate, plug it in, and solve for y. You'll end up with negative 4. Then we want to look at the slope. So the coefficient of the absolute value is 2/3. So that's going to give me, to the right of the vertex, a slope of 2/3. To the left of the vertex, a slope of negative 2/3. And I think we're ready to graph. So here is my system. It's all set up. I counted by 2's. Well, actually each box represents 1, and then I just labeled by 2's. So I'm going to plot the vertex at negative 2, negative 4. Now to the right of it, I'm going to go up 2 over 3, because that's what the slope says to do. Now to the left, the slope is negative 2/3, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back 3, or to the left 3, and up 2. And you can check that really quickly just to make sure, so if you would move down 2 and over 3, so that's working. Now from each of these points, I'm going to do the same thing. So from the point that's at 1, negative 2, I'm going to move up 2 over 3 to get to 4, 0. Then from the point that's at negative 5, negative 2, I'm going to move up 2, back 3, which is going to take me to negative 8, 0. And I'll do 2 more, like that. Let me put in my graph. And now what I want to do is try to check. So that's my graph. I think I'm right. The point 4, 0, for example, turned up on my graph. So what I'll do is I'll take 4, 0, and I'll substitute it into 2/3 the absolute value of x plus 2 and minus 4, and see if I end up with 0. So 2/3 the absolute value of 4 plus 2 minus 4, that's going to be equal to 2/3. The absolute value of 6 is 6, minus 4. The 3 and the 6 cancel to give you 2, so you get 2 times 2 minus 4, and that we know is 0, and that's what I was expecting, so it checks out. And that's how I usually graph these things, or at least how I first learned to graph these. You get better at it, and you start kind of skipping some steps, and you understand things better, but that's how I would go about doing it when you're first encountering these, and I hope you found this helpful. Good luck.